throw everything at teams and win and he needs to win the game. But you're 2-0 up, you're 3-1 up, play your positions, just relax. McTominay's bombing off everywhere. Now, look, you're giving credit for scoring a goal, and you've got to half give the team credit for wanting to score goals all the time. But as a way of winning a big game in Europe, it just wasn't disciplined enough for me.
Owen, how much of the blame? It's hard to pick out individual players, but Onana didn't have a great night again.
No, I mean, there were huge moments in the game. And, you know, obviously you think back to the Copenhagen one where the 2-0 up, Marcus gets the red card, and then the game kind of changed. Today, obviously, they were in control of the game. The mistake from Onana. I mean, the thing is, they've scored 3 in Munich and lost. They scored 3 in Copenhagen and lost. And they scored 3 here and didn't win. I mean, that... If you would have said before that you'd score that amount of goals and you wouldn't win the games, nobody would ever believe you. So they're scoring enough goals, but they're making mistakes which you can't make in the Champions League. So that was a brilliant game of football, and they played well in moments. But you know, they're conceding soft goals at the moment, and that's just you can't do that in the Champions League, Laura.
How are they going to take this game? So Old Trafford, Bayern Munich, last game of the group. Bayern Munich, who have been brilliant in the Champions League and all have already qualified. Can you see them beating Bayern Munich?
At this point, no. The only thing that might help them is the situation because Bayern Munich are through. You'd expect it to be probably a weakened team from Bayern Munich, but still, their weakened team is a top-class team, as Owen will tell you. The manager, I'm sure, you know, obviously a bit of history in England, he'll want to go to Manchester United and win. I'm sure about it. And I think Bayern are potentially one of the teams that could win the competition. So, but for United to beat them at Old Trafford will be difficult. They're capable of it, don't get me wrong, but they've got to cut these mistakes out. They've got to play with discipline at times as well. They're just not doing it.
It's so bizarre, isn't it, that we give compliments to the likes of Onana in the Premier League, and the Champions League is so completely different. That game, as we said before, was so symptomatic of Manchester United in the Champions League so far this season. How can one competition be so different to the other? Yeah,
I think it's hard even for the players and for the manager, for the fans, because they've been consistent. You know, in the Premier League, they haven't been consistent in this Champions League. And I just think the quantity of goals they're conceding, you know, you're going to struggle to get through into the next round. But there's still, obviously, that, you know, they can go back to Old Trafford and put on a performance. The amount of goals that they're scoring, though, you think they can do it. Just cut out the mistakes, and they've got half a chance. So, I mean, as we said before the game, they're must-watch. And obviously, every game at the moment in the Champions League is like this. Absolutely is. Let's just have a quick confirmation then of the table. This is what Group A looks like after that game. Don't forget as well, we've got Bayern Munich. They're facing Copenhagen later on. That kickoff is at 8 p.m. tonight. And Manchester United, once again, sit bottom of the table there. So it's all going to be on tonight because ultimately they could be out by 10 p.m. So keep watching TNT Sports and you'll be finding out exactly what sort of state Manchester United will be in at the end of the day. We're going to hear from him very shortly. Manchester United went to hell and relived a recurring nightmare, dropping the lead once again, twice within this game. Look at it, though, at times, it was absolutely breathless. 16 shots for Galatasaray, 17 shots for Manchester United, 6 goals all in all, and a really familiar story for Manchester United in the Champions League this season. It's not desperately or definitely, over right now, but it could be at 10 o'clock tonight, and that's if the game in the group, the other game in Group A, Bayern Munich, if they lose that game, that means that ultimately Copenhagen win, Manchester United are out. But look, let's talk about game management, because it feels like we are doing it a lot with Manchester United, especially in the Champions League. What's going wrong?
It's back to that game management, as you said. It sounds like a broken record. I feel like I've been saying it for years now, that the lack of leadership. You think of the experience you've got in the team as well, Laurie. You think of Lindelof at the back, play for Sweden, Harry Maguire, play for England for so long. You just said to your central midfield, the centre of the pitch was wide open. It was absolutely wide open. People just running through it all the time. And when you're 2-0 up, Harry Maguire, Lindelof, Scott and MRBEAR, stay here. Don't go anywhere. Almost similar to what Newcastle did last night. In a difficult situation. But that's the way, you're always going to get chances. Manchester United, with the pace they've got up front, they will always get counter-attacking chances. But just make sure you're solid. And it was end-to-end. It was a game they didn't need. After being 2-0 up and 3-1 up, it was absolute madness.
MRBEAR was one of the changes as well, and Erik Ten Hag said, bringing him in because he's got more experience. When you're talking about that game management, who's more at fault, the manager or the players on the pitch?
Well, no, I mean, everybody is in that moment. I mean, obviously, I think the subs will probably get some criticism just because at that point they were completely in control of the game. But that's the issue. United don't really control games. Even on the weekend against Everton, I know they played well. They had less possession than Everton. Today they had 42% possession. Scholes is right. You're 2-0 up. Just play deeper. You're in the lead. You don't really need to be high up the pitch. So I think that is a huge thing they need to address. When they concede one, they tend to concede another one. They did it against Galatasaray in Manchester. They did it, in Copenhagen. They did it in Munich, and they've done it again tonight. And that's something they need to address. Be a little bit more compact. Man United are at the best on the counter-attack. Play a little bit deeper, get 2-0 ahead, and play. It just felt like it was there for them today, and they let it out of their grasp. Rio said it in commentary, and he nailed it. That they had that, and they let it go.
Let's see where it started to unwind, starting with the first free kick that Hakim Ziyech put away. Talk to me about the positioning of Onana and whether or not this could have been avoided.
Well, it definitely could have been avoided. The keeper could have saved it. But I think Fernandes should be behind the middle of them, the middle of the two of them. I think there's too big of a gap. They're obviously going to get out of the way for the lad to score it. But I do think Icardi is clever. You see him, he ducks, but he does go right in the line of the goalkeeper. But as Owen said, it was fatal to move to that left-hand side. Was fatal. He has to cover that side. There's no doubt about that. And
this one?
Well, what can you say? Again, it's a terrible mistake again that I'm not sure what exactly he's trying to punch it away with his right hand. It's a weak. But he makes people nervous. I think he makes his defence nervous. He makes the whole team nervous. He makes simple saves look really, really difficult. And look, it's testing the nerve again, near post. Look, we'll have goalkeeper experts on who probably know more about this than us, but again, I don't think he should be beaten in the near post, and I think his position is poor. So for me, all 3 goals are down to him.
I mean, first of all, that's a brilliant first touch and finish. I think the second one, I think he anticipates Martial's going to get a little flick, and that probably just puts him off. And then, I think we saw that in Munich on the first goal that they conceded. I think it was Sane. He doesn't get his body behind the ball, so if he misses it, it's just going to go in. I think on that one was the same. So his technique is, we don't know anything about goalkeeper, but his technique looks.
Everything just looks awkward, doesn't it?
Slightly unconventional.
Yeah, unconventional, good word.
He is the Erik Ten Hag signing, so does he take ultimate responsibility for that, Erik?
I think managers ultimately do have to take responsibility for the signings. It's a shame, Sam, because in the last few weeks in the Premier League especially, he's starting to look OK.
He's been really good.
Yeah, he's looking a lot better still. As Owen said, making unconventional saves. And it's the Champions League where it's been a real struggle for him. I don't know why. Is he too casual? I don't know. You see him there having a little smirk to himself. I just think he's a bit too relaxed. I don't think his concentration is all there. For a goalkeeper, concentration is the most important thing.
And you must we spoke at the beginning of the match before it even started about the occasion and how, as a professional player, you go and you feed off these kind of environments and that kind of pressure. Is it different for a goalkeeper?
Yeah, I think it's very different. I think obviously there's more pressure. Obviously being a goalkeeper, I think at Manchester United, he's played at some massive clubs. Ajax and Inter, and he's done brilliantly. Played in some huge games. I think he's obviously got big, massive confidence. But obviously, he's made a couple of mistakes, and maybe they're weighing on him. I think the ones with those free kicks, people in front of him, he can't really see the ball. He anticipates getting a little flick. So I think there are things he could probably tidy up quite easily with the goalkeeping coach. Technically, I'm sure they could look at it.
Sorry, Owen, you think of the other team as well, watching the goalkeeper, and he's nervous, he's all over the place, we're just going to shoot, we're going to cross the ball, getting the ball in and around him. He looks like he's going to concede every time.
Is that what we saw with the equaliser? I know you're saying it was obviously brilliantly taken as well, but is that what they started to do? They thought, look, we see a weakness in him, we're just going to start shooting from all over the place.
Well, that's the issue you can have. I think he can make some world-class saves. We saw that last season with Inter, but those simple ones that are bouncing in front of him, we saw what in the first game against Bayern Munich, and then obviously again tonight. That's something he's going to have to tidy up. I don't think it's a hard fix, but obviously when players see that, they're going to keep doing it time and time again. And obviously he'll know that they're soft goals. He's a much better goalie than he showed tonight.
That was a breathless game. You've just come out of the dressing room. What's the overriding feeling in there, having gone 3-1 up and coming away with a draw?
No, I couldn't go to the dressing room because of the doping control, so I don't know. But obviously it's really bad. We conceded really bad goals. I think we have to take control of that situations in all of them. We on top of the result for twice. and we had too many chances, far too many chances to score another goal and have the game closed, but we're not clinical enough.
I could see you just watched one of the free kicks that Hakim Ziyech took go into the back of the net, and I could see from the look on your face that you're extremely disappointed with that. How do you explain both of those occasions when those goals went in?
I have nothing. I have nothing to explain. We concede the goals, and there's nothing to do now. Obviously, we could have done better in that 2 goals, but it is what it is.
How difficult did the game become to manage? Because every time Galatasaray scored, you could sense that the crowd found their voice again. And we know Manchester United have had leads in previous matches and let them slip away. Were those scars becoming to return mentally in the game?
No, I don't think so. Every time we concede a goal, we had many chances to score again. I think at the end of the game, we had like 4 chances to score a goal. But we have to put our heads up and understand that sometimes it's about to find another pass, find the player that is free, trying to get the best one in the best position, and not taking the chance ourselves. We have to look for the team first and after for ourselves.
Was it just another game then where there were too many mistakes?
No, it was another game where we could have closed the game before. We had too many chances, as I said, and obviously it was 2 mistakes by ourselves on the goals we conceded.
And when you think about Manchester United's future in the Champions League this season, if it comes down to another game like this one where you've let leads slip away, how much will you be kicking yourself as a team because you've had it there in the grasp of your hands to win these games?
Well, it's too bad, to be honest. I don't want to be too much negative, but for what we've been doing in the Champions League is not enough. We have to control our games every time. It's not the first game we have like this. Even Copenhagen with I understand we had 1 player less, but we scored the 3-2. We have to secure the result. We have to understand that in this kind of games, in this kind of stages, you have to be smart enough and manage the game better.
How do you do that then? What's the change? What needs to be done?
No, it's many things. It comes from everyone. Everyone has to step up. Everyone has to take the responsibility on their own mistakes, and we have to look forward to the next games now and see what we can do to go through. Obviously, now we don't depend only on ourselves, but it is what it is.
Thanks, Bruno.
Thank you.
OK, there you go. Bruno Fernandes picking up on the fact that there were a number of chances, a number of mistakes. Oh, and a lot of those chances came quite late on in the game as well, didn't they?
He had an interesting choice of wording when he said, we need to pick the open person. And he's the one that does that all the time. He did it on the weekend against Everton. He did it earlier for Garnacho. And they had so many chances. That one, I don't mind from Garnacho. He has every right to take that on. But this one from Scott, maybe can he slide in Anthony Martial there? You know, I know they're little things, but sometimes just playing the extra pass. Dalot did it brilliantly when he came on. He created 3 or 4 big moments. That one from Palestri. Just slide it, Scholes. You know, they're huge moments in a game.
Yeah, look, Bruno's clever enough to do that. I always say before a game, we need him up in that position, that number 10 position, where he can do that type of thing. We know he's capable of that. I know his interview there, he talked about mistakes, but he made 2 big mistakes tonight, giving 2 stupid fouls away that both led to goals. So I think the full team, including himself as captain, have to take responsibility for it's a game they should win. The position they're in, 2-0 up, 3-1 up, that's a game Man United should be winning comfortably. And again, away from home in Europe, it's been a disaster. They just cannot keep clean sheets defensively all over the place. They keep making mistakes. As I say, Bruno, stupid, crazy fouls, and it just makes the game mayhem every time. There's no need for that.
They're in this really odd situation, and Rio's pitch side, so we can have a little chat with him and see what he thinks about this. Rio, they have conceded almost the most amount in the Champions League. The only people that have conceded more are 2 teams that are actually out the competition, but they also are nearly top scorers as well. The 2 teams that have scored more of them have actually gone through and qualified for the knockouts already. It's a really strange situation that they're in.
Yeah, it is, but I think they've got to look at themselves. I think you can't go into a Champions League campaign and score 9 goals in 3 away games and have 1 point at the end of it. I think that shows you that there's a lack of balance in the team at the moment. Yes, they can get goals, and yes, they are attacking at will and creating chances, many of them coming through Bruno, but I think defensively they just made mistakes. I think the keeper today has to hold his hands up and say, yep, I was at fault for a couple of goals, and he should do better. But I think the manager will be scratching his head and thinking, listen, the game plan first half worked perfectly, and then when all of a sudden they score a goal, it changes the dynamic of the game. They were 2-0 up, 2-1, and you're thinking, wow, I set the team up perfectly well, they executed, but then a mistake cost us, and again at 3-1 the same again. So I think there's a lot of question marks in the performances and the way that they're going about things at the moment, but balance for me is one of the key aspects that they've got to really find, and we mentioned in commentary scars from throwing away leads. Those are hard to get away. You've got to really manage games, and he mentioned that himself, Bruno. You've got to go about managing games correctly, and they've got to do that not over 1 or 2 or 3 games. They've got to do that over a period of games now, so they can erase those scars that they've created and they've grown through bad results and throwing away leads, especially in Europe.
Rio, you were obviously a centre half, and when you see the chaos that's happening right in front of you, would you expect more from Lindelof and Maguire just to calm the game down, especially when you're 2-0 up, 3-1 up, players are still flying off, and you have to admire it a little bit that they're still trying to score goals and go for the throat. But the game's won at that point. What would you expect from players in front of you once you're 2-0 up, 3-1 up in a big European game?
I'd want composure. I'd want to be more calculated in your runs, calculated in your positions. Be a little bit more conservative at times, maybe. Get your foot on the ball, ride the game out, take fouls, make fouls. And I think that comes with communication. You played behind me, Paul, and I was one for always shouting if the ball weren't being held up. And I think you want the ball to get into the final third for your team, then maintain possession. I think sometimes we get into that area at the top of the pitch and it's about, let's get a shot off straight away. I understand that, but sometimes get the other team back in their own half. It's a long way back to get to your goal then, and take the basketball kind of nature out of the game. And that didn't happen today, and that comes with experience, and there's those leaders like Harry Maguire, who I thought played well today actually, but then there's other parts of the game sometimes where that communication and that grabbing people and pulling people into positions and saying, listen, you stay there and make us hard to play against, make us hard to beat now. And I didn't see enough of that maybe today.
Rio, I think the balance in midfield has been an issue all season. I know Scholes, he makes a point about Lindelof and Maguire because they're captains of their country, but I think that today was the balance of the midfield. I just think that there's no protection in there. If I was doing that, you would have moaned at me all game. You would have said, Owen, where are you going? Why are you running up there? Why are you in the box? Why are you shooting? We're 2-0 up. I think that the midfield balance has been an issue all season, and that's something they got to fix. I know the centre-backs, you talk about the experience, but I just feel like the midfield has been an issue all season, Scholes.
Yeah, I totally agree. It has been. He can't seem to get it right. I think ideally he's a very attacking manager and he'd like to just play one holding midfield player and the rest of them go forward, which is what he did at Ajax. But that one player they have in there, MRBEAR, Mainu possibly might be good enough at doing that, at controlling games of football. We've seen glimpses of it again tonight when he came on. He came on at a very difficult time tonight, but he looks a man who could control games of football to me. I'm not sure Casemiro's that type unless he's got the right players around him. So I think Owen's right. Getting the balance of the team, it's been a big problem for him. Can he play the 1? Can he play the 2? He's struggled either way to really find a way of winning games and being dominant in games.
Rio, it might be out of their hands by the time the game against Bayern Munich at Old Trafford happens, but do you think they can win that game? Do you know what, Rio? Finish off what you're going to say and then you can answer my question. Go on.
No, I was going to go back to that point they were talking about, the balance in midfield and finding that right blend. In the first half, they'd done that. It was a mistake that undone that, the goalkeeper making a mistake. But in the first half, I was asking for him to look a little bit comfortable and enjoy sometimes being penned back on the edge of your box, bank of 4 and a bank of 5, and not allowing big gaps between the midfield and the defenders, and allowing them to go wide. They were doing that, but then it's about doing that consistency, doing that rep after rep after rep, and that's where I think maybe sometimes there's a bit of immaturity, maybe boredom creeps in and someone jumps out, and then they go, oh, we're out of shape, and they look very, very kind of open at them times. And I think then that's when you need the voice to say, well, get back in here, stay in here with me, keep it the way it is, because they got the players on the break. Rasmus Højlund on the break is phenomenal. The manager said that's one of the reasons he's in the team today. The 2 wide players, Anthony had the beating of the fullback today, and Garnacho could get in at will. When you've got those 3 plus of players on the counter-attack, you can afford to sit back and be compact. And they were at times, but again, not for long enough periods.
Rio, we're going to let you go and get warm, get yourself out of the rain. We're going to hear from Erik ten Hag. Rio, thank you for being our pitchside reporter tonight. Appreciate that. Erik ten Hag is now speaking with Jules. Let's see what he made of that.
Erik, I can't imagine the stress you go through as a manager watching an end-to-end game like that. How do you sum this up now that you're here and you've come away with a point after going 3-1 up in the game?
Yeah, we're winning and then we're losing. We should have take 3 points, clear. And but there's also in more games, home against Galatasaray, away in Copenhagen. We play so good. So I have to make big compliment to the team, but also in the same moment I have to criticize the team and us as a coaching staff, me as a manager. We are defending not good enough. We are leading 3-1, then you can't afford such mistake we're making, because that makes a difference.
What area of the pitch do you think you're losing control in the games that ends up causing you to lose these leads that you're taking in matches?
Yeah, we knew that. I think every goal has its own story, and the first is a transition moment where we spoke about quick release and we don't block the middle. The second is a free kick, unnecessary free kick, but then we have to defend the free kick better. And then the third one, we are very good in organize, but we got run off, and we are in an overload there. So it can never happen that our mistakes can't be in the Champions League. You get punished for it, so we have to learn from that.
It must be really frustrating for you as a manager as well, because as a team you're scoring so many goals, particularly in the Champions League, but you just keep conceding. So how do you go about fixing that problem?
We will fix that. But so I'm very pleased. You see the style of this team, proactive, dynamic, brave. So that's what I said. I was really pleased with the performance. We created so many chances. Also in the end, we could have won this game. I think with Scott and with Pelle in the end, big chances. And it was not about luck, but playing about good football.
If Manchester United go out of the Champions League and it's down to throwing away leads in games, who is there to blame for that?
Yeah, it's always me, and I'm responsible for this. But also, no, we are in the project, and we're getting forward. We're making improvement, so that's very hopeful, and we are in the right direction. And so I know where we have to go, which steps we have to take, and I'm sure we will be successful in the long term. But yeah, if you want to stay in the Champions League, we have to win the next game.
Thanks, Erik.
OK, Erik ten Hag given his final thoughts and his assessment of that. What did you make of that?
Yeah, to be fair, he's always brutally honest, you know, and he's always pretty much right in the way he analyses the game. They're conceding 2 soft goals, and he's right. You know, I think goal scoring has been a huge issue for Manchester United last season, but actually in the last 2 games they've scored a ton of goals. So they need to tidy up the mistakes. But there were a lot of positives there, but the control of games and the soft goals is a big issue still.
You just said to me off camera there, should have scored tons more goals. Is that the feeling now that you've come away from this one, that you just should have put the game away?
Yeah, do you know what? We're so disappointed in there because we knew that we could have had the opportunity to kill a game, but we didn't. And obviously, it's a chance now for us on Saturday to put things right and obviously move on to the next game really quick and hope things can go our way in the group.
Particularly when you put your team 3-1 up. At that point, you must have thought you're on to a special win. Where did it all go wrong?
Yeah, it's difficult to say, obviously, in games like this and in atmospheres like this where it's extremely hostile. You need to be on your game and on red alert at all times, and we conceded 2 goals, which can happen, you know, it's football, but we're all a team and we regroup together, and we've got a big game on Saturday that we're looking forward to as well.
How's Andre Onana feeling about those 2 free kicks? I imagine when he's spoken to us before in the past, he's taken the blame when he's made mistakes in matches. How's he feeling now?
Of course, we're a team, and no matter whatever the weather, whether it's good or bad, and players are playing good or bad, it doesn't make any difference to us. We're all a team, we're in it together, and there's no individuals in this team. We all want to stick together and prove that we can go on and do well. And as I say, hopefully things go well in our group, and we get fortunate in terms of results.
OK, there you go, Scott McTominay speaking. So basically, Erik ten Hag, as we were saying before, he's the one that's saying, look, I take responsibility if we go out the group stages, and that could happen tonight, because Copenhagen, if they don't beat Bayern Munich, that means that they're out. So that is the end of their Champions League journey. So is he right? Is he just taking the responsibility to deflect away from the players? Or do you really think he genuinely means that? Do you think it's him?
I think it's a bit of both, isn't it? Look, he's a manager, he picks a team, he picks the tactics, and the players have to deliver it, and I don't think they are. It's interesting listening to Scott there saying they're a team, there's no individuals. It doesn't feel like a team to me. It don't feel like they're playing like a team. I think they're capable of scoring goals, at that end of the pitch. But at the other end, they're capable of conceding a lot of goals. And it's not changing. They're not learning. You think, how old's Maguire and Lindelof now? 30 years of age. And nothing is changing. They're not doing anything to stop it. And I think when you have a team that's a little bit not in sync, let's say, it's the back four, it's the one protecting in front of them and the rest of them are going forward, it's very hard to get the balance of a team. And when you play like that, your two central defenders especially, they have to be bigger, quicker, stronger than the players they're playing against. And I don't think they are. And that's where I think it's just common sense to have experience around you, to bring players in around you, to stop getting exposed as they are doing. Now, you can't always legislate for keepers' errors, and it's happening too often now. As much as in the Premier League he has improved a little bit, he's still, when the ball's around him, it makes you nervous. So I don't know what they do about it. I think Manu could be the big plus to this team now. I think he needs a run of games. He looks like a player who can protect his back four, he can protect, but he can also take the ball as well. He can receive the ball. He can start attacks as well, which is needed. Senses danger. And from what we saw at Everton on Sunday, I think now is the time to give this lad a chance.
It's interesting that you mention him because he's only 18, and you also look at Rasmus Højlund as well, who's scoring all the goals in the Champions League for them as well. It feels like they are looking to rely on a lot of youth rather than a lot of experience.
Well, I think Ten Hag said on the weekend, there's no such thing, if you're good enough, you're old enough. Mm-hmm. And I think Kobe showed on the weekend he's more than good enough. And I think that the biggest issue for this United team right now is in transition. They're too open, and that's down to the midfield balance. Obviously, getting Casemiro back would make a big difference. Mason Mount still has yet to really get going. He's a fantastic player. Get Martinez back. Get Luke Shaw. They look a different side when Luke Shaw's playing. But I think the midfield balance, figuring out who that's going to be. They've played with one holder at Scholes, haven't they? And that's for whatever reason, they're too open with that. They might have to go back to two and let the other players attack.
I think it might have been better with Manu in there as the protector, because this back forward, they need protecting. I don't think anybody else in the team has the legs and athleticism and quality on the ball as well, and senses danger as much as this young lad. Now, I've not seen loads of him, but what we've seen just from that little glimpse on Sunday in a big hostile atmosphere, he looked like the real deal. Now, it's early, but he needs to be given a run of games, though. He needs to be, because I don't see anybody else being able to protect that back four like he can do.
Manchester United have now got to go from that kind of atmosphere in Istanbul to St James's Park in the Premier League at the weekend. Would you like to see him come back in, Kobe?
I think he will come back in.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're just conceding far too many goals. I mean, to concede the amount of goals that they have, we just had a graphic up there in terms of in the Champions League, the amount of goals that they've conceded. I think it's the most firm, and that is you're not going to be able to get into the knockout stages with that. They've got to tidy up the mistakes and be defensively solid.
I'll tell you exactly how many. 14 goals in 5 games, which is a record for an English club at this stage of the Champions League in history. I think they actually broke their own record. So you're right, and I suppose to highlight the point that you made earlier on, they don't seem to be learning, so they don't seem to be getting any better, and perhaps that confidence in the back line and the goalkeeper, it's not helping anything. So what do? Because that goalkeeper is a new signing, spent a lot of money on him. Have to go again in the next window?
Well, in Scholes, the thing is as well, we've got Newcastle, Chelsea, Bournemouth, then Bayern, Liverpool, West Ham away. I mean, it's going to be a big test.
The kid's got to improve, Laura. Mm-hmm. He has to improve quickly.
Because so far, in Manchester United's games in the Champions League this season, 23 goals is the number of goals that have been scored and conceded, which puts them top of the tree. So they're entertaining, to say the least, aren't they?
Yeah, must-watch. Must-watch TV. Obviously, going forward, they score some goals, but they concede a lot as well. That first half was brilliant. I mean, it was a brilliant start to the game for Manchester United. We said somebody needed to step up. Bruno Fernandes and Garnacho stepped up in that first half. So I think Erik Ten Hag would have been delighted, really, with the start of the game. And it's great. Bruno Fernandes, little 1-2 with Højlund, who does brilliantly, linking up. Great little set. And I'll tell you what, Scholes, that's some finish from Garnacho.
Yeah, it's a great finish. Great football around. I love the centre-forward play from Højlund. Really strong and aggressive against his man. Bruno's in the position he should be in. He's a number 10. He's got the quality to create these type of chances. And A wonderful finish again from the young lad.
Yeah. Look, it's obviously confidence that's breeding through this team. And Rio said it earlier on. He was saying, look, confidence, the classiness, and then they kind of let it go a little bit, because I want to talk to you about, I tell you what, tell me about this goal, first of all. Bruno doing something very right here.
It's a brilliant bit of play from Luke Shaw to have the awareness just to flick it around the corner. And then, again, it's Bruno playing in the position where he is most effective. And he's capable of that. He can play a man in, or he can shoot from the edge of the box. And it's that nice little whip and dip in the top corner. Great goal.
Then not long after that, it's a mistake from Bruno. He's attempting a recovery run, gives away a free kick. From your experience in that position, how wrong does he get it?
Well, it's not really a mistake, though. It's, you see, like, obviously McTominay at the top of the pitch and Bruno Fernandes there. If Scott's in his more natural position, Bruno won't have to make that run all the way back. He's the captain, he's making a run back. Obviously, he's on the wrong side and he fouls just because he has to. But really, if you're 2-0 up, Laura, you need to be in the right position, your players. And obviously then the resulting free kick there. Ziyech is on top of the ball. Onana can't see because of the two players in front. Takes a step to the left when he probably shouldn't. Just needs to stay there, and we'll see it from another angle. But it's not really a great free kick. If Onana stands still, he probably saves it. But once he takes that step to the left, Laura, he can't really get back.
You see Icardi just duck out the way there. The two Galatasaray players split, and then the ball goes straight through the middle of them.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what they planned to do. I said to him, you would have thought Bruno would have maybe behind them two, obviously knowing that they are going to aim for them and get out of the way. But if you look, Icardi's really clever because he does get out of the way, but he's also looking at the keeper and he's right in the keeper's eye line. As Owen said, that step to the left has killed him, really. And, the goal's gone in.
Football watching is amongst them. Welcome to the home of Galatasaray. Derek Ray here in the commentary position, and I'm joined as always by Lee Dixon. And we're fully convinced this game will live up to its billing. It's Galatasaray up against Manchester United.
Yeah, really looking forward to this one, Derek. Excite me. Come on, let's see some entertainment.
In a position from which they could potentially do a bit of damage here. Wan-Bissaka. And space to cross it. Top-class defending. Well, Manchester United have chosen this particular shape. Harry Maguire plays alongside Victor Lindelöf in central defence. And operating up front. Can't miss, surely! And that's a straightforward stop. Fred. Now with Rashford. Well, he's a player who just seems to get better and better. I'm talking, of course, about Bruno Fernandes. Lee, what do you think we'll see from him in this game?
Well, the more you give this lad the ball, the better the team normally plays. He switches the ball, he links play from left to right, up and down the pitch. He keeps possession, a brilliant player.
Fred. Bruno Fernandes. Great challenge, he got nothing but ball. Bruno Fernandes. And fed forwards. Well, the chance looked to be on, but found himself offside. Mohamed. Now Emre Akbaba. Yedlin. It's a fine United move in the making. Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes. Sound piece of goal.